everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am so excited to be doing this vlog with you guys. So I've been meaning to do a vlog of my day as a professor. So everybody always see my fitness side, but nobody has really saw the side that actually consumes my life the most, and that is being a professor. I'm going to show you guys kind of the classes I teach. You're going to go through a class that I teach as well. What I do during the day, just kind of things that you would not normally expect or would see what we actually do during the day. But this is kind of how I balance everything in my life. So right now it is 7:49. I have a 9:30 class that I'm going to take you guys to in person. And I just want to just show you guys the life. So let's get packed up. And when they packed up, it's about a 30-minute drive to campus. And we'll go from there. So let's do this. Hey y'all, so we are just rolling. I am on I-20 going towards Carrollton because that's where University of West Georgia is. Traffic isn't as bad, you know, as any day, you know, in the mornings. I did almost hit 3 deers. Had to slow down in my neighborhood, but we got about maybe 20 minutes depending on how traffic is. There's always somehow an accident right by the university, so we'll see how that goes. But we're moving, so I'm gonna turn back on my music and I'll kind of check base with you guys when we get a little bit closer. All right, y'all, we are here. We're here. We made it. All right, everybody, we are here. I just pulled in to the same spot I park in every single day. I am about to walk to my building, which isn't far, but I'm kind of running late. Usually I get here like around 8:15 and it's like almost 8:30 and I got stuff to do before class, so I need to kind of hurry up and get it going. So let's walk. Y'all, it's so empty on campus. It's ridiculous how bad it is. I'll explain that a little bit later, but not too bad. That's my building right there. I'm just taking another way in. We're gonna go this way. Yep, here's my building. Pafford, that's my building right here. Look like a damn prison, but we gonna make do what it do. And guys, we are here. Here is my little office. All right, let's set up. All right, y'all, welcome to my office. We are running behind, so we need to get ourselves ready. So let me do this. Y'all, I always forget my password. Okay, so I only teach one class in person, which is nice. The rest of my 2 classes that I'm scheduled to teach are online. So I teach Intro to Law Enforcement and Prison Law this semester. I always kind of teach some type of corrections course. Intro to Law Enforcement just came about, but funny thing is I'm actually liking that class, which is kind of weird. So this morning, actually, the class that we have is the class that everybody hates, statistics. So I like teaching this class because I love the fact that a lot of my students out of this class come out and say, oh, it wasn't so bad, and I'm like, I told y'all so. But they always think it is math, which, oh, y'all gonna see today, it is math. But I give them everything that they need in order to be successful in this class. They just freak out because everybody says it's hard and they need a C or better to pass. So I don't have too much time this morning, so I have my yogurt, I have some more fruit, and of course some energy so I can get myself going. So we are going to eat this along with, I have to do some printing. Sorry, y'all. So we got everything we need for class. Lord mercy. So So a funny thing is we are at the end. So we are at the end of the semester to where we really don't have too many classes. So we're on chapter 10. We're getting into t-tests. And they have to calculate it. I make them do that, make them interpret everything so that they know how to do it. But some of the stuff is not useful in a way, only because some of these students aren't going into anything statistical wise. They're not going to use it. Now, they may have to do reports where they have to get like descriptive statistics or some stuff like that. And I always bring up the fact that I did this as well when I was actually in the field. So when I was getting my PhD in Arkansas, I actually worked for the prison system doing like research for them. And I did, I want to say like 5 different reports where I actually had to use statistics and actually make it more interpretable for the people who were actually reading it. So that was actually fun. I love that aspect of this, but also statistics is so good for research, which is another part of my job, which I'll talk about a little bit later, specifically after class in itself. But what do I need? But I'm gonna get myself ready for class. I'm gonna eat. I need to print off some things, and then I'll take you guys to class with me. So class is not in this building. Class is in another building across campus. It's about a 10-minute walk. I love this walk because it is so beautiful. But we'll get going here in a minute. I'm just gonna eat, gather myself for class, and we'll get to head into class. Hopefully they'll be excited to kind of, you know, I wouldn't say be filmed, but be excited that they know that I'm actually filming. So whatever. All right. Just printed off the sign-up sheet for my class. I don't take attendance and I don't count it towards anything, but it's important for this class to have attendance due to the fact that if a student comes back at the end and they're like, Dr. McNeil, I need a C in your class, I know this, but I have a 65, and I'm like, where were you? I can go back to my records and I can be like, you didn't come to class. How can I help you? You see, most students are very diligent about things, but for some reason with COVID, it kind of went down the drain. Literally kind of went down the drain. It was like, since they got a handout during that time, now they want a handout every time, and it's like, no, that's not how life works. Life don't work like that. We have tough times, I get it. But if you consistently didn't show up, turn in your work, did poorly on assignments, didn't come to my office hours, I will see you next semester, literally. So that's why I always have a sign-up sheet. So in the mornings, I make sure that everything's open, everything's, you know, live on course stands. All right, y'all, I got about 20 minutes, and of course I just had a student email me. Okay. So I just had a student email me. She has the flu, stay at home. If you got the flu, stay at home. Don't come, nothing. So she has the flu. Good student, very good student. She's in actually 2 of my courses. I want to make sure she's okay. So I'm going to respond to her, which is fine. I don't mind her staying at home. Let's see. So basically what I'll tell her, I was like, you know, I'm always sympathetic to students, especially if they let me know ahead of time. If you got the flu, if you sick, stay at home, just let me know. So she wants to know how she can get caught up and all that stuff. The thing is, this stuff isn't hard, but you just have to make sure to pay attention. So pretty much all I'll tell her is that everything's posted. We can set up a Google Meet, and Google Meet is, I can actually meet with them virtually online. This is probably the easiest way, especially when somebody is sick and missed classes and they can't make it to my office or they can't make it to class. So we can Google Meet, chat about the material, chat about any questions they have. They can also email me anytime. I don't answer after 5 p.m. But they can email me, you know, and I'll try and get back to them. So I'll probably pretty much just respond with that. Alright, so y'all, we are off to class early so I can get pretty much set up and show you guys around. So I don't take much. These, of course. Let's go. Let's go to my 9:30 class. Talk to me. Everybody okay? The only time you'll see this again is on the exam if you decide to do it. If you decide to do it. So, just FYI. I will post this after class. I will grade. Try and get grades done. So we have chapter 10 left. That's it. This is the last chapter. So we have 2 parts to this chapter. This today and Tuesday. Now, like I said, it is up to you guys if you want to do Thursday's class. Thursday's class, the PowerPoint is only about 8 slides. And there's only 2 quizzes with it. Chapters 11 and 12. But it's literally like, I always tell people, it's only like the beginning of those chapters. It's nothing... anything you have to calculate, anything strenuous. You can get all the information from the chapters. We'll know before the following Tuesday because that week is supposed to be study session. So that's the week before Thanksgiving break. So if you decide after I send out your grade to do the exam, I will still make exam 3 study guides, and this is multiple, live for that next week. If you're satisfied with your grade and satisfied with not taking it, you're done. You don't have to do anything except for, I think that's all that's left is the 2 quizzes. There's an extra credit assignment with chapter 11 and 12. And then there's the evaluations for the course that's worth 20 points. So, and that's because it's a lot of work to be shown. So make sure to pay attention to everything I say. And if you notice in course in as well, you can see that I posted example problems for you to actually follow. So just like I did for chapter 9 at the beginning, I'm going to do this for this chapter as well. So think about t-tests. Your independent variable is always nominal binary. So we're not using one sample's t-test anymore. We're actually doing 2 samples. So 2 samples are the 2 categories that are on the independent variable. So for t-test, it is always a nominal binary independent variable. And your dependent variable is always ratio. Always ratio. It's always ratio. We are still using the t-distribution, so if you did not download it or don't have a copy, I did put it back in that course den file for you guys. And then, of course, for 2 populations t-test, when we get to it on Tuesday, you'll be using the z-distribution, but I actually give you guys the 2 standards that we're going to be using, so that way you don't have to use the either. So thank you. Yep. Y'all can thank me later. All right. I'm just going to put everything up. All right. So we are still doing hypothesis testing. So with hypothesis testing, we are still looking at a sample to a population. Instead, here we have 2 samples. 2 samples. So what we're trying to do here is not only find that there's a difference between the samples, but also eliminate error. So that's why it is an extra step implemented into this calculation. It's an extra step. So remember, all we did was calculate the t-obtained. It's an extra step in there that you guys have to do. So I've already told you guys there's two types. There's two types of t-tests: independent samples and dependent samples. So independent samples and dependent samples. Today we're only going to talk about independent samples t-tests. We're only going to talk about independent samples t-tests. I'll talk about dependent samples when we get to it on Tuesday, but just know that dependent samples is that the two samples are related. For independent samples, they are not related. They are not related. I like dependent samples t-tests because I use it more so when I worked in the prison system, when I did some of my evaluation research, because they all are dependent on that one program that you have to kind of do. This is not. What we're going to talk about today, it is not dependent on anything. So, and I always go back to research methods. When we look at when to choose, when not to choose, that sort of thing, you kind of have to figure in how it's worded research methods wise. So in the question, I basically tell you the sample. I tell you the sample, but you have to know how that sample came about. I'll give you guys some tricks and trades to it to figure out what type of t-test you're doing. But just know that when you do a t-test that has independent samples, they're not related to each other. When they're dependent samples, they are matched. So just keep that in mind. Don't worry about it now. We'll talk about that a little bit later. All right. So when we do t-test is pretty much higher than chi-square. It's more reliable than chi-square. So one of the more likely things that we look at in our field is gender and delinquency. And of course, we know gender is always male-female when we actually code it. Delinquency, we look at the number of crimes committed. These samples are not dependent on each other. These samples are not dependent on each other because delinquency can vary no matter what. It can go any which way. But in order to understand the difference between male and females, it's best to look at a t-test rather than a chi-square. So keep that in mind. All right. Please don't hate me, but these are all the things you need to know for the calculations. In the problem, you can have all of these things. You can have the population mean for both populations. You can have the standard deviation for both populations. You can have the sample mean, standard deviation, and sample size. Meaning there's a possibility you can have 10 different numbers in a question. So, you can thank me again later. I'll take gifts at the door. I'm only going to put in 6. I'm only going to include sample-related numbers. So in the question, you're going to have 2 samples. For each sample, you're going to have a mean, a standard deviation, and an n. I eliminated the population stuff because it just got too messy. Thank you. I try. Try and make life easy. So all you need to know is when the first sample is listed, that's your sample 1. When the second sample is listed, that's your sample 2. The mean is always close to what? Standard deviation. And of course, your n is always given to you with the n that says what is equal. So that's not the hard part in a sentence. And I'm sorry, let me let this go around my bad. All right. Now, this is where it is important. So this slide is important because it tells you standards for when to use a one-tailed versus a two-tailed t-test. So when population variances are equal, when it's a pooled variance, you are doing a two-tailed t-test. Let me repeat that. Just write this down. When in the question, I'm going to tell you, in the question, it's going to say your population variances are equal or unequal. If the question says the population variances are equal, you are performing a two-tailed test. In the question, if it says it's unequal, you are performing a one-tailed. Okay, Siri, nobody's talking to you. She literally found one tail versus two tail and had it hooked up. So unequal, one tail. Equal, two tail. That is the easiest way to know what formulas you are using. Unequal, one tail. Equal, two tail. No, this is for a t-test. In the question, it will say either the population variances are equal or the population variances is unequal. That's what it will say in the question. If it says that it's equal, it's a two-tailed t-test. If it says it's unequal, it's a one-tailed t-test. I don't have to explain this part because you guys already know what to do on the chart. So anytime it's one tail, you're going to look under the one tail. You're always going to get the alpha. So you look under the one-tail test with the alpha. If it's a two-tail test, you look under two-tail test with the alpha. So that's for the actual chart. Everybody remember, right? Okay. All right, we remember that. Y'all know how y'all be forgetting stuff. Y'all be like, I don't know about that. I'll be watching.
Unequal equals one tail, equal equals two tails.
Yes, got it. And it's going to say it at the end of the problem. I literally tell you what the variances are looking like. Everybody good? Okay, let me state this. So one-tailed, y'all know, can be either negative or positive. Two-tailed is plus or minus, so that actually affects your critical value. So make sure your critical value follows that way. It is possible that I will give you a directional hypothesis, but you are still doing a two-tailed test. So please be on the lookout for that. This is how I get people and trick people. So let me repeat that. For step one, if there's an alternative hypothesis that is directional in the question, you still write that, even if the population is equal. You just have to know the difference. I'll kind of give you guys an example of that. So you guys already know how to use that. Not going to go through that since we already did that in chapter 8. Here is the steps. If you notice, there's an extra step in there. What's my extra step? Standard error is an extra step. Different calculation. Computing degrees of freedom. It is not the same as before. It's n-1. Especially for one-tailed test. That's my favorite when I trick people. But I'll tell you an easy way to go by it. You follow the same steps. It's simple, easy. The thing is, one-tail versus two-tail is different formulas. And a lot of people end up doing the wrong formula. And I'm just like, it's incorrect. So just make sure to pay attention. All right, let's talk about two-tailed tests first. And I'm going to break down the question. I'm going to break down these questions. So the thing you need to hone in on is what's your independent variable, what's your dependent variable, and what's the sample. So I do ask this on the homework and in the actual exam. So what's my independent variable? Independent variable. Independent. Nope. Y'all got a whole conversation going on back there. Y'all got the answer for me? What's independent variable?
You don't know? Yeah, it's a question, right?
You a mess. Nope. Independent variable, not the what you're looking at. Independent variable. Broad. Broaden that out.
Female juvenile offender.
No. Broaden that out. No. Broaden it out. What are those? No. Those are categories, but what are they categories of? Race. Race. So, oh my God, Lord mercy. All right. It's just race. It's just race. Why is it just race? What's the two groups?
Hispanic and white.
Hispanic and white. So remember, your independent variable has to be what? Thank you. Thank you. People looked away from me and I'm like, oh, nominal binary. So what does my dependent variable have to be? Ratio. So what's my dependent variable? Age. Age. You can just say age. Age of arrest, I'll even take that. Now, this is where we get into another thing that I put on the exam that people get wrong and on the homework. What's my sample? I heard it though. I did hear it. Yes.
Juvenile defendants and criminal court.
Not juvenile defendants. Nope. It's female. Female juvenile offenders.
White, Hispanic and white female.
If you say that, that's fine too.
That's the sample, right?
The sample, the female juvenile offenders I would take. Hispanic and white female, I would take that. Yep. I'm just asking what's the sample. I'm not asking for the breakdown of it.
You're not adding.
Huh?
You're not adding white female.
You can. Okay, how can I put it? You can put female juvenile offenders, or you can put Hispanic, white females. Either way, I don't mind. As long as you're giving me the sample, because that is the sample.
The combined number.
Okay. The sample is female juvenile offenders. That's what I'm pulling. I'm not getting any specific. If you want to get specific and write down Hispanic females, white female juvenile offenders, you can. But I'm just going female juvenile offenders. That's my sample. I'm just asking what's the sample. Huh?
I thought you were asking for a number.
No. You good. All right, what's my sample one? Hispanic females. What's my sample two? So, I always tell people write it out. Write out the three numbers that you have. They're all there. Kind of write out everything you need to figure out how to go about it. So, you have your means, you have your standard deviations, you have your ends. The reason why I have the ones and the twos is because that is exactly how the equations or the formulas are panned out. I have the alpha that I'm going to be using. I know this is two-tailed test because at the end it says equal population variances. So I know it's a two-tailed test. For some reason, I always do this out. Always. Talk to me. Everybody okay? Now, from this, and most of the time, when I talk about hypothesis testing with a two-tailed test, the question does not have a specific alternative hypothesis, but you need to know how to word it. So, in the question, how do I know if there's a difference? Does it say it in the question? It does say it in the question. It says in the question that there's a difference. So, for your step one, for a two-tailed test that does not have a directional hypothesis in it, this is what you would write. Huh? No, that's the null. I always show the null. I've always shown the null. You only need the alternative. So the alternative is, it's that same saying. You always put there is a significant difference. Always put that. The only thing that changes, what do I have listed first? Huh? The dependent variable. I have the dependent variable listed first before I even talk about the independent variable. So there's a difference, mean difference in age across racial groups. For female juveniles, you can put there's a mean difference in age across Hispanic and white females. I don't care how you do it, as long as it kind of is similar to this. And I've had people write it a little bit different, and I don't mind as long as I know that you know what the dependent variable is, what the independent variable is.
So you're saying for the alternative that you put it, the dependent before the independent.
Mm-hmm.
The question.
No, that's not the question. That's the.
No, I know what I'm saying, but in the question, it's independent and dependent.
No. There's no question for this. You going back to chi-square now.
All right, guys, I just got out of class and it was a fun class. Kind of went on my soapbox and I think my camera died, so that's why I'm on my phone. But it was a good class. We have officially 2 classes left. I think I'm gonna cancel one of them, but this was a tough class for them, even though I think they got it down packed. They're okay. But I'm gonna walk back to my office and switch cameras, make sure my battery is good. But that was a fun class.